and we are the co-founders of Dipper.
Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
Hi, Jacinta.
Hi, Netta.
Oh my goodness, I am so happy that we are actually having our shut up and
We're
listen.
back.
We are back, girl. We are back. We are bold. We are beautiful. We are doing it, right?
Yes.
Today, the topic, though, is we're just too busy for the BS. And what I love about this is we don't have anything specifically planned, but we're going to shed all of our business today. Because I think
TMI.
I know TMI, right? Because I think it's just so important, especially as like female founders, entrepreneurs, to share that, you may post a posting or a picture of you smiling, but you never know what's going on in someone's life behind closed doors. And just even with us having to try to figure out like, hey, when can we make some time for each other, right? We have a business to focus on this. And, but I love that we both understand that. I think that's what makes this partnership so strong.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think it's really the story of how people of color, women of color, men, how we show up in the workplace, that we are bringing a lot with us. Like it's not just like, we didn't just wake up. We did wake up like this, but like we didn't.
Did it again. I woke up with my red lipstick on. Okay. That's all.
Okay. Like, I don't know about you, but and so like even waking up, showing up, logging on, there's more that comes with it. And now, we're in our homes, right? And so a lot of whatever is happening, whatever we're going through, that's coming to work sometimes in some scenarios. So I'm curious, Netta, in your work environment, like how real do you feel people are about like how they're doing? Like, do people actually say like today is not good?
Yeah. I think, there are some folks that have normalized and saying, no, I'm going to be very honest and direct.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling too good today. It's honestly something I'm still working through, because when people ask me, well, Netta, how are you doing? I'm like, great. Like I've normalized.
Yeah.
And I could be having the worst day. I'm still saying great. I'm still smiling. So it's really interesting. But what I love, especially within the workplace, people are normalizing and getting stronger at saying, no, I'm actually not doing that great. Here's why. Or no, I'm actually not doing that great, but I'm going to still navigate through this.
Right.
And I think there's so much power in that. How about you?
Yeah. I think I've definitely learned that saying how you really feel at work is definitely a privilege, right? And like not everyone feels that they have that privilege. Not everyone is able to have like managers that have opened the door to that. I know for me, it was like a transition to be in a work environment where it was like normal to talk about our feelings,
right?
Like encouraged, because I was like, no, can't we just work? Like I just want to work. But it's actually become normal to be like, I'm not okay, and I think it's been really interesting because right now, people on Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter internet are acting so crazy on her internet. It's just everything from, stories about Kanye to different social media trends. It's impacting, how race is talked about, whether at home, at work, at school, and then us as individuals too. And we have to bring that with us, even when we need to show up and get the work done and do the projects and do the reports too.
It is. Yeah, it is so interesting. And one thing I always say to folks is when we're home, no matter if we're home or if we're in the workplace, we are still the same individual dealing with the same like life like those life experiences are still coming at us
Yeah.
where we are. And so we have to understand that, and we have to still kind of navigate through it. But I guess my question for you is, what are you navigating? What did you
Woo!
have to
I
navigate?
know. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we both had some like pretty amazing speaking engagements this week, and we're
Yeah.
traveling and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think we all know, I think LinkedIn sees like our careers, but we're also moms, you know, and I think, and with that comes like managing mom life and what kids are going through. And, you know, funny enough, there are like, with everything happening on the internet, there's some social media trends right now that are kind of getting kids to say curse words. So like you use other words to get get someone to say a curse word. That has, you know, weaved into using words to get kids to say racial slurs, right? And so what that has happened is like, you know, in this situation, my daughter is 9, and that was directed toward her because she was like, she was trying to stick up for she's always trying to protect somebody, you know.
Yeah.
And she had a friend that was, she felt was being bullied, and that bully then felt like, I'm gonna have these like slurs and harsh words directed toward you, right? And what I, you know, I think she very much knew what it meant, knew the impact, knows the historical context behind it, because we talk about race.
Right.
But what I think it opened up the door to is that it is like peak privilege to never have to speak to your kid about race. Like the all like peak privilege. Or I think too, when people say like race, there's no place for conversations about race or diversity at work. That's also like gross privilege.
Yeah.
Like it's gross privilege. And so it's sometimes like it takes these incidents to remind people of that, but also reminding her that like, you do not need to be the hero. You do not need to do the race work to educate those who have executed their privilege on not educating themselves or not having their parents. So it's funny, I did have to explain that to the school, like myself or my daughter do not have to do the race work in this institution. Like this institution needs to do the race work for itself. You know?
And listen, they brought it to the wrong mom, because because I know you were marching in that school, like principal, principal, let's have this conversation right now. What's happening, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry that your daughter had to experience that, you know, and that our children, like you said, it's such a gross privilege to not have to have that conversation with your child. And even as young as my children are, 2 and 3, the reinforcement, you know, and telling them, you are beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
Your skin color is so beautiful. And so now my son says, I am so proud to be a Black boy. Like that is just that is one line always says that word with like conviction.
And that's gonna translate over to like any space that they're in, right? I think it's having that affirmation. And recently I was at a conference and I was really surprised. The conference was about insurance, like it was not about diversity. However, there were several sessions. I think there was a session each day that was actually about conversations about diversity. And you know, one thing that came up is really, how do you empower folks that are maybe in the middle or even an entry level? How do you empower them to even feel like they have the capacity to step into an executive role? Like other people may see that in them, but there may be work that needs to be done to help them see that in themselves, because like no one's really pointed that out to them, or if they don't see people like themselves at the top, you know. And I think that it starts so early. It's like, even though you may look up and not see anybody who looks like you too can be up there, you know. And
absolutely.
It takes those affirmations coming from others sometimes. Yeah.
It's true. And you're right about it starting from a young age. and us really instilling it into our children and understanding that like no matter who you are, right? And with that skin color, you are beautiful and you are capable and you are competent. And reinstilling that in them at this very young age is so important. I had to also go to my son's school. He's like I said, he's 3. He's in private school, and he's not too far from where we live. But he's in the after school program because mommy's working up until like late, right? So try to pick him up around 6, but he's still in the potty training phase. So I made sure to ask a lot of questions and making sure that, hey, the younger kids in pre-K, they're using a separate bathroom. It's not the main bathroom. And what I realized was that they were still bringing my son into like one of the main bathrooms that was just, it was, their kids, right? Older kids are in that school as well. So they're just leaving it really dirty after school. Jacinta, I had to breathe in and breathe out because I walked into that bathroom. He really needed to go to the bathroom. I was just like, okay, this is not working out. And I had to bring it to the principal's attention. I said, listen, I am paying for my son's schooling. And I want to ensure that the proper protocols are in place so that he is not utilizing, or anyone's child that is that young, utilizing that bathroom with, older kids. They can't even reach the toilet. Like, can you imagine the amount of bacteria and germs in that? So I had to have that conversation. I think, what I felt, and this was like my initial feeling, was that, oh, okay, well, let's take this little Black child into this bathroom. It'll be fine. And it's so important for us to watch everything, to be on top of. And again, there is so much privilege if a parent, is not doing that. Like, and you not having to think about that. Yeah, it's a great school, but still, is my son going to be treated with the love and care and respect that he's supposed to be treated with? Or is it going to just be like, we don't really care. Let's just do that.
Yeah. And I think it's great you navigated this circumstance with recognizing it's not just like your individual situation, right? But there are others who this incident could impact as well. And we see that at work, right? Like, you may be dealing with something that is like individually tackling you, and sometimes just like sitting back and saying like, okay, I'm just going to deal with this. Like, this is some BS, but I'm going to let it happen. There's sometimes a greater price to that. Like, it's likely not just you. There could be someone else, So
absolutely.
Netta, as we talk about the topics, recently I have noticed there's this like conversation of anti-Blackness coming from Black folk, right? And it's interesting because one time, I can't even remember who said this quote, but it stuck with me. Someone once said that Black people can't be racist because we don't wield the power to enact racism among a group that is in power. However, we can wield prejudice, and like, we can be extremely prejudiced. And I was like, and that there is a difference between racism and prejudice, right? And I think that's something I'm sure know that as a diversity practitioner, but we don't hear that a lot. We don't hear, there is power in words, and a lot of times we don't hear the differences between those two words, right? And so I was like, yeah, but I wonder, has it shifted as we get into places where there are, Black folks in positions of power, right? And influence. I think we're seeing this, like, the price of your influence carries weight in a community, right? And so it carries weight beyond our community. So even if you are a Black person, but you leverage a lot of influence, and then you choose to spew anti-Blackness, Like, what's the price there?
Oh yeah. Oh no, there's a heavy price, right? Because historically, we've seen once one Black individual, Black identifying individual says something or does something, it then reflects upon the larger group, right? And historically, we've seen that, and that's also an act of white supremacy, right? For us to kind of even believe that, and it's really unfortunate. And that's what we see happening today. I mean, even as we kind of take a look at Kanye West and the hate that he's spewing and the things that he stated before about his own community.
Yeah.
Black, his own Black community. And no one really taking action then, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's heartbreaking to see it. One of the things that I think about often is this term, kind of the oppressive mindset. And there are still so many Black people as well that are under the oppressive mindset.
Yeah.
Thinking that, hey, I need to do this. I need to operate with the majority group. I need to think this way. I need to bash my own in order to get the funding, the financials, whatever, the power.
But Netta, it worked.
Well,
it worked. I
mean,
mean,
I always say there's an expiration date.
Let's not. And I think that's one thing that is very interesting to me is that, like, when this individual stepped into, like, fully embraced their anti-Black ideology that they were going to be very vocal about, they got more endorsements, more deals.
They were praised.
Like, not necessarily wins in music, but wins that brought more cash to the bank. Like,
absolutely.
He didn't need to go on tour when you're getting an endorsement deal, or like when you're getting all this stuff. And so it's really, I am glad that there is this shift in the discourse. Like, we've seen statements from corporations that decided to cut ties, right? Okay, great, fine. But I am glad the clap back on the internets.
Oh, serious.
It comes strong. And I'm glad the clap back has been, oh, but wait, you signed him and he's always been this way. And you still did it.
Exactly. You never said anything, but you're doing something now. What changed, right? And I think that's what's happening, right? The Black community are now looking at that and saying, but hold on. All these things that were stated before, and even the white lives, we all went through all the diversity and anti-racism training. Nothing was said, nothing was done. But now, something's being done. It shows the power that certain groups hold. And not to say, and I definitely don't condone any type of hate at all, but we can't overlook the fact that there is a level of power at play.
Yeah. And I definitely want to almost like open up the door. Like, if you are not of a race, but you see someone of that race doing something ridiculous, call it out. Like, I have been in this, I was in a conversation with someone that was of a race that is different than mine, but they were a person of color, and they were negatively speaking about people of their ethnic background, nationality, and race that are a darker hue. And I said something loud and proud and checked it right away. That's where I think there is a discomfort from their, like, how do I check someone about how they talk about their own people when I'm not of the people? And it's like, yes, we are all human, but it is perfectly fine, like, to, of course, do it in a safe way, do it if you trust this person. But I do feel, especially an organization, a company that is making an investment into an individual and what that individual stands for, there's a responsibility beyond just like the direct vision. There needs to be this holistic view that considers even their own community.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah.
And I think too, and I get it. I get how, because I always try to kind of relate it back to if you're having a family situation, a family issue, you may not want an outside person looking in to then say, well, you know what? I'm going to get involved here. No, no, no. Don't interject until I call you. Right. So I can understand how those that may not identify as
Yeah.
Black could be seeing from looking from the outside in and saying, well, this is not right, but I also don't want to step in. Right. I don't want to step in. I don't want to, I can see that side. However, it goes back to what you're saying. Many of these organizations that were partnering with him, endorsing him, that's the time you can actually step in and say, all right, we had our anti-racism training after the murder of George Floyd. We had our diversity training. We know that this right here is not right.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do, but we can't rock with you in this very moment. So we're going to have to drop you. That's the time to do it. And that's the time to speak
and it's like it can't just be okay to appropriate and commercialize the culture, but you can't protect it.
Well, there you go. Oh my God.
It can't just be like we're gonna make the clothes, the shoes, we're gonna do the videos. We're gonna make the money off like appropriating and commercializing.
Jacinta, historically, that is how we have seen it.
Yeah,
that's how it's been. And so I think for many of these leaders still kind of leading these organizations, they're looking at it and saying, well, why do something now? We've been appropriating. We've made so much money.
Yeah.
Why stop now? It's not until it's then reflected back that it's like, woof, okay, we're getting out of here with this one.
Yeah. And so
stepped over the line.
This is just a taste of the conversations, the dialogue that is happening on the platform that Netta and I built, the platform we built. It's our baby, our home, ourdipper.com. It is for you, by you. And we hope that there's a prompt on there that asks how's work. And it can also be, how are you? Like share those insights, share this conversation. It is a safe space, and us being able to vent, rejoice, celebrate, debate is all who we are. And it makes us better at doing the things we love to do. And sometimes that is work. Sometimes it's rest. Like
rest is key. And I love what you said. One thing I tell folks is, make Dipper your workplace diary.
Yeah.
Literally, let it be a normal part of your practice. You go in the morning, whether you're virtual or not, and you share what your workplace experience was like.
100%.
Right? Track that for you as well. So really excited. Thank you so much, Jacinta.
Thank you, Netta. I love you, girl.
I love you. I love you too, and I love you more. And I'm so happy we had a chance to.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Take care. Bye.